sir. We have waited so long.
I feel crazy saying this, but Kostya was right. We should have let Solace Keep fall.
Crazy is one word for it. You really think you can just burn down someone's ancestral home?
Dearie, the keep isn't a home. It's a prison. And now the Pargrunen will never escape.
Solace is my home. I still don't get why any of you feel like you have a say in this.
But you left.
Because I chose to. Kostya doesn't get to make that decision for everybody.
If Kostya doesn't, Mihala will.
Civilization, as we know it, hasn't existed in the living lands for very long. We need to preserve what history we have.
Darling, you know I hate to think of losing all of that history more than anyone. But think of what they could have gained. Maxim left the Republics, and it allowed Animancers in Fjord to thrive.
Destroying our home is not starting something new.
You really think everyone in Solace is there willingly? Amalia and her people took up arms and turned to banditry, and they still weren't allowed to leave. If anything, I imagine Mihala and her traditionalists will only make it harder to leave now. You know your own mind. There's something to be said for that.
True. And you've a date with the gods soon. We can only hope that you'll make better decisions.
And that's not all. Not to spoil the moment with good news, but I doubt the rest of the island has been quiet while we've been looking for the Garden. Things have only gotten more tense since Fjord, and the Steel Garrote probably hasn't been doing us any favors on that front.
Especially when they're led by a woman who doesn't seem interested in staying dead. Not to mention, after we take care of the Envoy's little god problem, we'll still have an empire bearing down on us. We should be so lucky.
Can't say I'm too excited about just walking into the Garden. I grew up learning I needed to protect that place, but it never felt like more than a children's tale to me.
I hear ya. This island is weird enough when all we have to worry about are vengeful plans and soul-altering corruption.
Am I the only one who's looking forward to the Garden? We're pioneers, stepping into the great unknown, a land of mystery.
We have to remember to love them in spite of their lack of proper enthusiasm, dearie.
Can you imagine? An untouched spiritual wilderness just waiting for us. I have a theory about the Garden, or a warning, depending on how you want to look at it. Sapadal has been imprisoned a long time. The Garden will be a reflection of their dreams, their nightmares, their madness.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw visions or hallucinations, and not even the fun kind.
About that, before we go any further, I have to ask you something. You told the Inquisitor that you intend to free Sapadal, set them loose upon the world. Is that still the plan? Everyone deserves freedom.
I could make an exception for a god with the power to destroy us all in a tantrum.
Sapadal is responsible for the spiritual health of the living lands, and the island has suffered for it. No matter what the Inquisitor said, I don't believe there's a right or wrong choice to make here. Just the one you believe in. Good. Who said it has to be? Remember, we're stepping into a realm that is both physical and spiritual in nature, if you can call it nature. There's no telling how long we'll be gone. For all we know, time could run backwards in the Garden.
Not a chance. We're a crew now, so you're stuck with me until the end. Marius?
I told you I'd be with you till the end. I don't go back on my promises. What about you, Giada?
You're not going into the Garden without me. I have to see this with my own eyes. Yatsli, if you feel like running back to Quilici, now would be the time. No one would think less of you.
And tell Quilici that I missed out on the most exciting part.
And you don't have to. We pull together, and that's plenty.
I plan on wandering the garden whether I'm traveling with you or not. I have to find out what the big deal is.
Agreed. I'm not waiting in camp while the rest of you have all the fun. Hope to see you out there, Marius.
Well, let's go then. We can't keep your god waiting.
So, this is it. The spiritual epicenter of the living lands. Where it all began, and where it all ends. For so long I have looked out on a horizon full of possibilities. Now that it's here, I'm too scared to breathe. Oh, why am I so anxious? You may be right. When I gave up, I stopped worrying so much. And now that we're here, it's obvious I don't know what I want anymore. Do you remember when Manto Pastor sent you after the heart of an Adragan? That was nothing compared to this. We are standing in the beating heart of the living lands. Just imagine what we can do with it. I almost turned my back on animancy. And if I'm being honest, it was a relief. But now that we're here, who am I to reject my upbringing, my potential? My parents were going to build a better world for animancers. That dream was their legacy to me. You and I have come farther than they did, to an impossible place where anything can happen. Anything. When you say it, I can almost believe it. I don't know what's going to happen, but you've had my back since the beginning. I won't forget it. Well, that depends. I know a few spooky stories about the living lands. They may or may not have anything to do with the garden.
Okay, but if something goes bump in the night, I'm waking you up.
Let me think of a good one. There are so many, I can't decide. Which do you want to hear first? I know one about a ranger's dream, one about a haunted well, and one about a golden city. Many years ago, when Fior Messiverno was barely a dot on the map, an animancer got lost in the wilderness. He came upon a pair of ancient trees, their trunks and branches intertwined. A strange light shone in the space between the trees, and beyond that light, a city of gold. So the animancer returned with an axe to chop the trees apart and fit his body through the narrow gap. But with every blow of his axe, the towers of the golden city fell. The walls crumbled, the lights flickered out. By the time he made it through, there was nothing left. Only the bones of a once mighty civilization. As for the two trees, they were dead, hacked to splinters, leaving him no path back the way he came. Who said it was true? It's very strange. I can't remember who told me that story, and no one claims to have heard it before. Of course. Which one did you have in mind? One sunny day, a ranger took a nap in the woods of Emerald Stair. He awoke to a forest of dead trees, the night sky full of unfamiliar stars. After getting his bearings, he walked in the direction of Fior Messiverno, but the settlement was gone. In its place was the most beautiful garden, hills bursting with flowers, the grass as soft as Valian silk. Enchanted by this vision, he bent to pick a rose, but its thorn cut like a knife, severing 3 fingers. Then, a voice filled his head, shouting, "Go now, before the land takes you, body and soul." He awoke in his own bed, a wilted rose clutched in his 2-fingered hand. Of course. Which one did you have in mind? Once upon a time, a young girl left town to fetch water from the local well. After pulling up the rope, she discovered the head of a Delimgan, one of the tree folk, staring at her from the bucket. "Return me to my grove," it said, "and I will grant you 3 wishes." So she carried the head into a peaceful clearing and sat it down on a tree stump. First, she wished for long life. The head granted her wish. Second, she wished to be impervious to a sword blade. Granted. And finally, she wished to know what happens after we die. No one ever saw her again. All they found was an Adra pillar in the middle of a clearing, next to an old stump. Very perceptive. What do you think it is? I have my own opinion, but I'm curious about yours. That is true of many places, not just the living lands. These stories might not shine any light on the garden, but they could inform the way we think about it. First, the garden is beyond all mortal understanding. If you think you're safe here, you're not. And second, when you walk into the unknown, make sure to bring a friend. Indeed, I couldn't have made it this far on my own. Hey, you're a good listener. Not everyone has the patience to hold their questions to the end. Alas, that is all I can tell you about the garden. For now, at least. I must admit, I had my doubts about Solace. It was like a dungeon, except the wardens were the prisoners. You could have helped Kostya destroy the keep, but you left it standing. Why? And she isn't cozy with the steel garrote. Even if Solace isn't going anywhere, I think your arrival was a sign of changes to come. Wherever you go, you break people out of their habits. You banish the old ways. Or perhaps you don't give yourself enough. Wherever that power comes from, whether it's your heritage or political status, it's a terrible burden. I don't envy you, but at least you keep things interesting. If I must. Does anyone want to share a scary story?
No.